This video is sponsored by Hunter Engineering. Visit hunter.com for more information.
Clay, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. And I've been excited to talk to you because you guys are doing something with AI that I have not seen before. It's not just AI answering calls. And when we were talking before, you were saying that AI seems to work best in a low risk scenario. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, you don't want to jeopardize your entire business using AI. It's still new to consumers, it's still new to businesses. It's been around for a couple of years, but it's still very, very new and people are not ready for that. And when you really just replace people with AI, it's a shock. It's a shock for both sides. It's a shock to the business, it's a shock to consumers. And we've learned that consumers are not in love with it. So we don't want to put it in a position where it's going to hurt the business.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you never know what consumers are going to be asking that AI on the phone. And even if you load it with all your data, you give it your hours, you give it, serviceability, all this stuff, it's not necessarily going to say the thing that you hope it's going to say every single time, right?
Exactly. I have a really funny story. So we track and measure every call that comes in, and we listen to a ton of them. And we have a dealer that one of the customers asked where the bathroom was. They were in the lobby and they said, "Hey, where's the bathroom?" It said, "It's down the hall to the left." It made that up completely.
Of course it did.
What would you expect it to say? It's got to answer with something.
Sure.
And if you don't program it correctly and say, like, if you're asked a question that you don't know, like, you need to not answer it with what you think is correct. So there's a lot of things that we've learned in the last 2 years with AI voice that a lot of companies that are offering this service now just don't know yet, and they don't have the experience. So we have a lot of conversation intelligence around what happens on the phone with these AI voices and how customers respond to them. Some are positive, a lot of positive. They'll make a lot of appointments for people, but some are negative. So you have to really be careful on how much access you give your customers to AI because they don't love it yet.
And so at your company, what is your solution to that problem?
Yeah, so we like to use a low risk scenario. So missed calls is probably the easiest thing to do. If somebody calls during the day and your team's busy, then that can be transferred to an AI. We're really trying to lean into not overdoing these, like giving them so much information because they have to respond really fast. And as much as everybody thinks AI just knows everything at this point, with these models, it can't know everything as soon as it responds. So it can only read a certain amount of information. And what we have found is, to put it in kind of perspective, it can only read about 10,000 characters. So if you can imagine a piece of paper, if something was at the bottom of the page and that's where it's reading from, it can't see the top of the page anymore. So it loses its context. And if it had an instruction at the top that should be carried down to the bottom, it won't know it. So it'll end up kind of what we call hallucinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you began that last answer by saying if somebody at the service desk can't answer the phone,
right?
How important is the person still, even if they're using, one of these AI agents?
How important is the person at the counter?
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
They're still the most important person in the shop. They answer the phone, they help with the customers, they drop the business into the store. That's how you get revenue, is from the phone.
Yeah.
So, we are really, that's where we're moving to, is developing people using AI for practice and monitoring, looking at phone calls and data and how they offer appointments and what they can do better. So, that person is still the most important person, but we've learned how to use AI to make people better faster than they've ever been able to, really be developed, in the last 20 years.
You have all this data, right, where you've seen how people are talking on the phone and what they're saying, how that translates to closing a sale.
Absolutely.
What is the most interesting thing that you have found by reviewing this data that people should be doing that maybe they're not thinking about or they're just not doing?
It's really interesting. There's probably three key things that I've noticed. One is we tend to give a price entirely too fast. Somebody calls, I need to get a price on oil change. They go, it starts at $55. And the customer says, okay, thanks, click. It's game's over. He's gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're going to the competition. You're not gonna see him for 3 to 5 years. The next thing is we provide no value before we give a price. So we rush the price, but we don't even build value in what the price includes. So saying, you're coming in for an oil change, we also rotate your tires, we're gonna top off all your fluids, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, we're gonna check your alignment for free, whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
They don't provide any value before they give a price. And then the last piece is they never offer an appointment. So if you don't offer an appointment, nobody can ever say yes to the appointment.
Sure.
And we see on average that the close rate for a price shopper looking for an appointment on alignment or brakes, oil changes, goes up by almost 40 or 50% if you just offer the appointment.
Now, with your service, there's a practice element in there to get that service advisor to continuously practice asking that, some of those points that you made and things beyond that, I'm sure. How does that practice element work?
We have an app that they log into. They literally click a button to train, and they pick whatever service they want to practice. So if they want to practice oil changes, they go down to oil change, they click it, a script pops up so they can actually read right down the script, and AI will basically come onto the screen and say, thanks for calling the practice line. What would you like to practice today? Inbound calls or outbound calls? And then you say inbound, and then you can pick from tires, brakes, alignments, oil changes, diagnostics, and other services. And then you just say oil changes, and then she says, all right, I'm gonna act like a real customer. Here we go, ring, ring, ring. And you just start role playing. And you just literally read from the script right from the screen.
Interesting.
So it's very simple. One click, and it starts. Takes about 3 minutes.
I'm a service advisor. I've done my practice. How do I know if it's working?
So one, we have built-in metrics to know if you're converting more into closed appointments, by product, by service, by the store, by the company. So we track everything from the top down. And in the app, you're actually gonna see all of those things on the front screen. You're gonna know what your close rate is by product, service. You're gonna know if you're hitting the talk tracks and the metrics on real calls. We're tracking real calls, not just practice. But we basically mirror the practice session as a real call. So we practice like we play. And by doing that, one, you're gonna know what your overall close rate is, which no one's ever really seen before. And then as you're getting better on one product or one service, it's gonna carry over because the conversation is virtually the same.
Very, very interesting. What's something interesting that you've seen some of your clients do with that data once they have it?
We have a client, this is not in terms of practice, but just a single piece of data.
Yeah.
When you offer a loaner car or an Uber, your close rate goes up by like 12% on average. So we have a few different clients that offer that service, and they were like, well, let's just see how effective it is. And when we can filter down by that thing, it was interesting. It goes up by 12%. And I was like, well, this is a no-brainer. You should be offering everything to everybody, especially on diagnostics. That was the big one is, somebody, we don't know how long it's gonna take. We don't know what's wrong with the car. And it's like, let's get them in, say yes to business, and then get them out of the shop, send them home, send them to work, wherever it is.
Wow, wow. So you can drill down, let's talk diagnostics. You see, hey, our conversion rate on there is 12%. That's pretty low. We need to get that up. So you then go into the app and say, hey, I want to practice diagnostics talk and closing that.
Yes.
And then hopefully, month over month, you can see the change where, okay, next month is 25%, next month is 35%.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah, and what's really, really simple about this is it's not different talk tracks really per type of practice scenario. So if you're practicing tires or brakes or oil changes, whatever it is, the first 3 or 4 things are exactly the same. Where the product comes in is the value questions or the discovery questions that you're going to ask the customer. So if somebody calls and says, my check engine light's on, I want to come in for diagnostics, most people will say, well, diagnostics start at $199. And they go, okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, thanks, gotta go. Like they're done. So instead, it's like, okay, well, tell me what's going on with the car. Have you had any work done recently? You ask a few questions because you want them talking. You want them to like kind of let go of the pain that they're having, so you can like help them with whatever they're calling about. But it's not just to let them talk. It's to build trust in you. You're asking things that if they called somebody else, most likely they didn't ask. So that's why you build value before you go give a price, and that's really the key. But the conversation, kind of the top of the conversation, the bottom of the conversation are exactly the same. You end the calls the same way, start the calls the same way. It's just the in the middle, how you talk about diagnostics, how you talk about tires. That's the only difference, is just that one little piece.
Man, that's so cool. So, hopefully by showing somebody the data, hey, month over month, you're up 40% because you kind of followed the script or whatever it might be, that you follow the training. Hopefully that's enough to convince them that, hey, this is great.
This is working, yeah.
You do still have those people who say, hey, this whole AI thing, I'm not into it. I don't want anything to do with that. How do you convince those people that they need to look beyond the fact that AI is driving them?
Yes, those are the tough conversations, because the people that same person will say yes to something different. They'll say yes to something that's been around for 20 or 30 years because they knew that that's been there, that it's proven in its own way, right? a lot of people are not willing to try new things because of, and honestly, in this industry, a lot of things have been sold that have been oversold. It's like, oh, if you do this, you're going to grow your business by 20% or whatever it is. And I've had a lot of products that have been pushed into the market by people that were not even in the industry that just says, I'm just going to service tire and auto shops. I mean, that's happening right now with voice AI. There are kids with credit cards that can go buy an AI voice platform and put AI receptionist on it for automotive and go sell it to somebody. And I like just warn everybody, like, call me first, like, please, because they don't know anything about the problem. They're not solving a problem. And that's why when we started as an AI voice company, we transitioned, because we realized really fast within 6 months, it was like, we can't see what the agents are saying. We don't know how well they're doing. We don't know if the customers like it or don't like it. And eventually, for the guy that has never tried something new, or maybe has tried something and got burned in the past, like, I encourage them to try new things, but just do your due diligence. Like, look at the person who you're talking to. Do they have experience in the industry? Have they helped stores before? Like, I've worked with thousands of independent shops and big franchises and top 100 tire dealers, and I have the experience and I know the problem intimately of what they're going through. So, the guy or girl, lady that has a shop that is like, I don't know, this might not be for me. Like, what is your alternative to do something that may not work? Like, we have the proof it works. And I think that's really the difference, is when you get into our platform and you give us a solid 90 days to actually make some changes in the business, but you give us 90 days, you're going to see a difference. You will see the ROI on it. Another thing that I think kind of differentiates you a little bit is Service Advisor League. Tell me a little bit about that and Service Advisor League. Yes. So, we started the company, AutoShop Agents, missed calls. That's just where it started. And, we started building out all these different products, honestly, to get better visibility into the agents and how well they were doing. And then we started doing practice, and we, added all the insights to be able to track calls and how well things were going on the call. And we hit a place where we were like, how do we present this to the industry? Because right now, AutoShop Agents doesn't really say what it does. It probably comes off as an AI company because agents is a big hype word around AI right now. So we developed an app that takes everything that we have and puts it in the palm of the service advisor. So they can see everything that's happening with their real calls, with their practice, with their coaching. We have live coaching through AI. Every day, it's going to take all the calls that they handle for that day, call them at the end of the day and say, hey, you handled 10 sales opportunity calls, you closed half of them to an appointment, you forgot to offer financing on this one you did a great job with this. Oh, by the way, the missed sale that you had, Miss Johnson with the tires, make sure you call her tomorrow, because she's going to buy if you call her. Right. So we have all this information and all these things that we kind of packaged up and put into a Service Advisor League to make it engaging, fun. It's points driven. We're going to have all types of awards, trips, incentives. Like, we're really going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, the word league in there tells me that there's some kind of gamification there, or are you competing against your peers? Yeah, absolutely. So you compete against your company, whether you have 1 store or 100 stores. You'll see your company and how well you place against everybody else in the company. You'll see all your growth. You'll see everything you need. And then you also will be on a national ranking. So you'll be able to see how well you do against the entire country. Right now, that's just points driven. We're going to break it out by product and service. So we'll have like the crown for the best tire sales, conversations. But what's unique about it is it's not basing it off of unit sales. Like, just because you sell a lot of tires, it could be just the store you're in, it's just a tire heavy store. So anyone of any size, whether you're a 2-bay store or a 50-bay store, you can still compete. And it's based off the conversation of how well you do in the conversation, which is, it's a fair game for everybody. Man, well, I know a number of people in this industry who will not sleep until they're number 1 on the leaderboard. So I look forward to seeing how that goes. Absolutely. Thanks a lot for coming in. I appreciate you very much. And thanks for watching.